2030 grains of arrow. Oh my word, dead center. What's up guys, Travis here from Outdoors with Travis. Earlier this month, we dropped a video on building the heaviest arrow we've ever built in the store, a 2000 grain plus arrow, and we're shooting it out of PSE Speedbow, the Omen. We put a challenge on that video for a certain amount of likes and comments, and you guys absolutely smashed it. And as promised, we are now going to hunt with a 2000 grain plus arrow. But first, we're going to have to make it shootable. And I know what you guys are thinking, but Travis, you shot it on the last video. But we didn't build it to fly. We only built it to be able to shoot out the bow through a chrono. And unfortunately, with me being a 27.5-inch draw length, this 31-inch javelin is just not going to work for me if we want to go hunting with it. So it's going to be a complete rebuild from the ground up to try and get the weight of 2000 grains, but in a 27.5-inch arrow. And what makes this rebuild even more challenging is I've got a very specific broadhead in mind that I want to keep as a surprise for you guys, and they don't come in 200 or 300 grain variants. So we've had to also account for the fact that we want a 100 grain field point or broadhead weight on the front end and not this 250 grain field tip on the front. So we've really had to do a complete rebuild. We don't want to bore you guys with the details. We already did a whole video on building this 2000 grain arrow, but I want to show you guys what we're doing differently to still achieve that 2000 grain mark that we are trying so hard to hit. So we still got the Eastern 2440 big game aluminium arrow. We found a 4mm arrow that fits it better. It's a 250 spine. And then we have a micro diameter arrow that fits inside of the 4mm arrow absolutely perfectly. And that's actually going to be a little bit of a backstop for us. It's going to meet the weights that we're going to put out front on the end of them. And then we're going to obviously epoxy this in to force those weights never to come loose, because we are doing a bit of a Frankenstein on this build. We are going to stack 6 100 grain inserts behind each other, and none of them are threaded. So I've had an experience where if you don't glue these in properly, they actually pop out the back. You shoot and that weight stays exactly where it is, and it shoots the knock out the back, and it just makes a big bang. So I was really worried about that happening with 6 of them stacked up behind each other, even though we're going to epoxy them as much as possible. And so I thought I'm going to actually just use this micro diameter arrow as a bit of a handbrake behind them, epoxied behind them, so that those weights have no possibility of coming out the back or coming loose. 6 100 grain inserts. We are going to be using a half-out insert for the 7.5mm Eastern 2440 big game aluminum arrow. And like I said, I don't want to give away a broadhead we're going to run on this, because they are arriving on Monday. And then last but not least, we are going to be using still the Bonin X veins. We're going to do a 4 fletch setup, and these are the Bonin X vein 3.5 inches. I think it's going to do just enough. I think this arrow is very heavy. I don't think we're going to be getting this arrow very far, but I promise you in this video, we're going to get it as far as possible out of that Omen. So if we get a paper tuned right, coming out the bow nice and straight, all these guys are going to be doing is just keeping that tail end of the arrow flying nicely. This is going to be in 3 stages. It's going to be the weights into the 4mm diameter arrow. Then we're going to put the handbrake micro diameter arrow through the back. So those will be 2 separate epoxy sessions, and then we're going to actually put that 4mm arrow, the entire 4mm arrow, into the 2440 Eastern big game arrows. And use this to push it nice and flush. Right, that epoxy still has a little bit of flex in it because it's a 24-hour drying epoxy. So I'm going to just stick this sticker over the shaft to force those weights to stay in place. We're going to just give it a little bit of a cut because there's some bounce back. The epoxy has a little bit of elasticity to it, and it's pushing that shaft out, and this is just far too long to compress. I'm going to give it a quick cut, and then we're going to give it some time to rest. Right, we're going to use a quicker drying epoxy because that hit insert epoxy from Eastern is taking a bit too long for us, and it actually is causing a little bit of issues because everything wants to move because it's just such a heavy build inside that 4mm arrow. We'll clean that now. Let's just get this insert in. It is drying a lot quicker than we thought, guys. So it is becoming a bit of a time thing. Let's get this in. There you have it, guys. We're almost there. We're actually going to put this now into a bow press to put pressure on either ends, let it dry for the next 24 hours. Then we're going to put some fletchers on, put the knock on, give a final weigh, and then take it on the range and shoot it. It's been 48 hours, or almost 2 days later. I'm almost certain that this arrow is going to be perfectly dry. And I think it's time to start shooting. We just need to put a knock on the back and a field point on the front. Let's do it. So I think I want to bare shaft tune this before we put fletchers on. So we're going to just pull the paper in front of it and give it a few shots. Make sure that it's coming out the bow straight before any fletchers. That's horrible. We're going to just take one more shot and then we know we're going to have to do some work. Okay, definitely a much better hole. Definitely a much better hole. So it could have been me. It was the first shot of the day. Let's maybe take one more and then we know. And now a bullet hole. An absolute bullet hole. I think I just needed to warm up with the bow first because that's absolutely perfect. If we can do 1 or 2 more of those, I'd be happy. Another bullet hole. Absolutely perfect. That said, I think it's time to fletch this bad boy. Moment of truth, guys. Let's look at the total arrow weight on this arrow.
Okay. Oh.
2,030 grains. 2,030 grains. Bullet hole, guys. Check this. It's obviously a 7.5mm shaft that's giant, but that's an absolute bullet hole. Before we do all the boring stuff like tying the peep in, the nose button, all that kind of stuff, I thought let's get some speed tests done because we're going to use all our data point entries now to get a rough estimate on this multi-pin sight on the Uno app. So let's check the speeds quick. $136. $137. $137 again. So that is definitely our speed, guys. 137 feet per second on a 2000 plus grain arrow. Moment of truth, 2030 grains of arrow. It's paper tuned, bare shaft, and with fletchers. I must be honest though, behind the scenes, we thought it was, and then we started with the fletchers at about 15 yards through the paper. We started seeing a low right tail tear, and then with some slight adjustments, we actually got that arrow flying perfectly at about 14 yards. I think we're really going to struggle today on the sighting in process because the pin gaps are gigantic. So instead of 20, 30, 35, I think I'm going to do a 20, 25, 30, 35. If we even get to 35, I think we're going to bottom out at 30. But moment of truth, let's check it. 20 yards. I'm going to aim for the bottom right corner of that rabbit target. Exactly the same spot, so we can move it a tad left. All right, we're going to start taking some shots at 25. The sight pin gaps are so big, I definitely don't want to be guessing between 20 and 30. So I'm going to have a 20, 25, 30, and if we can push 35. Little low. Let's do one more at 25 before we do any adjustments, because that could have been me, anchor points, wind, anything. So just do a follow-up shot and then we'll make the changes. Okay, exact same spot, definitely low. I'm going to bring that up a bit. Are you guys going to shoot around now?
Yeah.
Lovely, enjoy.
Okay.
Alrighty guys, we made those slight adjustments, brought that pin slightly down, so obviously we're going to shoot a little bit higher. Let's double check one more time, 25. Dead center, but low still. Ooh, this crosswind is nasty. Bullseye, baby. Just want to do one more at 30 to make sure we are spot on, and then I think it's time to see if we can sight in our 35. Low and left. We have been shooting a ton already this morning. We have sighted in our 20, our 25 and our 30, and we are consistently getting around this yellow circle. Now this one is a slightly low shot. We've got a couple already in the yellow, but it is extremely finicky. I want to know from you guys, if you had to nickname this absolute monster weighted arrow, what would you nickname it? So you would think, right, this is such a heavy arrow, wind shouldn't affect it. But I think because it's traveling so slow and taking so long to actually get to its destination or what you're aiming at, the wind does have a massive impact on it. I mean, have a look here now. I was shooting head on this target, and we have almost a very extreme tail left. And I wasn't really shooting from that angle. So we are going to have to account for that when we take our shots in terms of what the wind is going to do to our arrow. But nonetheless, a dead center shot, 20, 25 and 30. I want to try and push to 35 yards. Let's go back a little. 35 yards with a 2030 grain arrow. What are we even doing? Oh my word, dead center at 35, guys. We are cutting the bottom of the yellow. We're actually all in the yellow, but at the bottom of the yellow at 35 yards. Yes, please. I think it's time to take this onto a 3D range, test it out on some life-like animals, just put it through its paces, make sure that it's foolproof, because if we can't organize a giraffe hunt, we are still taking this hunting with some either bush pigs or something like that. We are going to start baiting, which means a target like this comes in handy very quickly. So we're going to start off at 35 yards and take some different shots at different animals just to make sure that our confidence and everything is there for when we have to use this in the bush. Kill shot, baby. Kill shot. We are definitely sighted in. That just gets me so excited, guys. Big head on wind. Another beautiful shot. Definitely gonna get something with this. I think we need to move to guessing some yardages between the pins, not just doing perfectly rounded off numbers like 35, 30, 25, 20 like our pins are sighted for. Let's see what this is gonna be. 27 and some change. A little bit lower than I would have liked, so I definitely want to retake that, but that's a kill shot. Beautiful, baby. Oh, this is rewarding, guys. I really wish we documented how much we absolutely struggled to just get to this point, because obviously we paper tuned and then they were at the range, but there was so much that happened between that to make this happen. I think it is just a complete Frankenstein arrow. The wind really messes with it. From my angle, I can just check the tail doing this because of the right to left wind. We have consistently hit where we're aiming, and that's what we want for when we take this into the bush, whether we shoot it out of a tree stand at porcupine or bush pigs, or we actually get that giraffe hunt that we are searching so hard for and put it at a giraffe. I really think we're going to be successful either way. All right, I think I want to move to one more target, and then it's safe to say we are ready. I think I want to shoot between that 20 and 25 just to make sure we're comfortable, because realistically the way I'm going to set up the tree stand, if we don't get the giraffe, that's going to kind of be the distances we're shooting. And I actually see a bush pig on the range, so I think let's go, for the sake of the channel, I think let's wrap up on a bush pig that we might just be shooting with this bow anyway. So I'm going to have to thread the needle here. It's between two trees, but this is where confidence is built, and this is where you know what you can do in the training sessions, and it translates into the bush. Oh, beautiful. 22 yards. Kill shot, baby. It looks left, but what I've noticed is if the wind hooks the tail, it makes the fletchers look like that's the impact point, but it's not. It is inside the kill zone, even though the fletchers might look like it's left. Here's the shaft right here. Perfect shot. And there it is, guys, a 2030 grain arrow flying beautifully and hitting its mark up to 35 yards only because we're running out of space on that multi-pin sight. The next time you see us with this arrow, we're going to be in the bush, whether it's a giraffe, bush pig, porcupine, whatever we manage to plan, we will hunt something with this arrow as promised. Appreciate all your guys' support. Subscribe, much love, shoot straight, peace.